Welcome back to Ultra Chill. Bithotel has chosen Ultra to distribute through. To get a better idea about what they've been building and why, we had Leon Lenan, their COO, on to the show. Together we discussed social gaming, which communities to target, their upcoming games, and why projects like theirs tend to rule their own marketplaces. It was an interesting discussion, so let's get to it. Welcome to Ultra Chill. We have today with us Leon from Bithotel. Leon, do you mind giving us a quick intro about who you are and what you guys are trying to build?
Yeah, hey guys, nice to be here. Thank you for the invite. So I'm the COO of Bithotel, or more general Metaverse Game Studio here in Amsterdam. We build all kinds of entertainment products and software tools to help builders in Web3, launch quicker and be more successful.
Maybe we talk a little bit about how people play online together, because I think the draw of online games is very much playing with others together. And I think that there's also, from like a business's perspective, a challenge at the very beginning, bootstrapping a community and ensuring that enough people are playing together to make the experience, really valuable. Maybe you guys talk about how your team is pushing past this kind of roadblock.
Yeah, having a sort of social features, friend lists, really helps. Also, referral rewards and such really help with user onboarding. So all kinds of social mechanics really help in all kinds of games, not only in Web3 games, of course. But yeah, that's not really being done enough. We feel there's still very much a blue ocean for the Web3 gaming market. Of course, it's in its inception right now. So all the games that there are more or less just experiments. But yeah, we're definitely putting heavy emphasis on the social features because of its power, because of the network effects that you can create by having a solid community that's engaging with each other, that's mingling, and that has some incentive to invite their friends over as well. Um, so this social graph, the mechanics behind all kinds of social networks, definitely play a big role in growing games as well nowadays. And yeah, our flagship product, which is called Bithotel, you can already play it. It's in beta. It's really focused around these social interactions as well. So we have in-game text and voice-based chat. We have friend lists. Players can basically make their own little camp in the game as well, and invite friends over there. Set different permissions. So yeah, we're structuring everything around these social interactions. Even like peer-to-peer trading, I think, is a big one that plays into the social part as well, wherein players can place a little bet on who does better in the leaderboard season in the coming month, and then based on trust, they would transfer each other, a certain thing that they bet based on who won that leaderboard season. So um, all these mechanics combined, I think, are really powerful, and you'll see more and more of in the future. So yeah, that's my take on social features in GameFi and in games in general, and where we're heading.
I know that you guys are still building out a lot of the feature set that you expect to build out over the next couple of years. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how, when you're designing future experiences in Bithotel, what your mindset is for how you guys sculpt them to be, more engaging from a social point of view.
Interesting. Yeah, so we normally start by looking at different um, other games, especially the ones that did well, or the ones that maybe didn't do as well but looked really promising. Yeah, we take a look at a lot of the older games as well. There's a quite a long history of different games that came out over the last 20 to 30 years, and we look at what really stuck with players, and why did some games really fall off their pedestal. We used to have like 5 million monthly active users, and now they have maybe closer to 50,000. Those kinds of games. What really allured players to join them, and yeah, what made them stick, and what maybe didn't for some. So we start by looking at the benchmarks, and then from there on, we're making a list of potential features that we think could be very valuable, and sort of be disproportionately effective in creating retention inside of games. Um, we make a little short list of that and put like little priority numbers next to them. And the next phase is after that is the more exciting one, wherein we sketch out the different features that we're planning. So we use Figma, similar to how all kinds of websites and web apps get designed these days. Figma is a tool that allows you to basically draw lines, and when you select them, you see the code that's needed to make that a little pop-up or something on a website as well. So it's really very useful, very intuitive. You can also collaborate with multiple people in the same file. But we actually, yeah, designed the whole game and its features as far as that's possible um, with that tool. So everybody has a clear vision as well of what we had in mind, and make sure that everybody aligns on that vision. And then after that, we start building. So there's a lot of due diligence that goes into a feature. It's not like somebody comes up with an idea and tomorrow it's there. Um, there's a lot of research and also looking at numbers and comparables and see if it makes sense to the bottom line or if it makes sense to retention numbers. Um, before we even start sketching them out.
I actually have two questions here as an output of that. One, the artwork that you guys are doing, like the players and things like that. I assume that's not in Figma, is it?
The artwork, so the sprite sheets, or it's what they're called, like where
Mm,
when you see a player walking.
yeah.
No, those are pixel art. All of the sort of little building blocks that the game is made out of. That's most of the times built by our design team, which are most of them are pixel artists. For the Bithotel example, and no, those are basically the building blocks that then the UI designer puts into Figma to make everything look, solid. But placing those together is the impactful part, of course. And yeah, the pixel art design um, process is very time intensive as well. So it's not like we can turn around these sort of feature designs in a week. Oftentimes, the pixel art work itself takes quite a while and a lot of manpower. But yeah, you're right on. It's a step I didn't describe in the process overview a few seconds ago. Yeah.
Can I ask you guys why you went with pixel art?
Yeah, of course.
It's a very bold direction.
Yeah, it's very different. That's, I think, definitely at least 50% of the reason is that all of the Web3 games, all the metaverses that you see popping up, they're all built in Unreal Engine 5 and use all these 3D models, and it's just very rough around the edges and doesn't really, um, I don't know, doesn't really at least feel very welcoming to me. While a lot of the players and Web3 users right now, they're in their 20s, maybe 30s, and they grew up with all kinds of pixel art games and um, maybe even web games as well. So we also see that playing into this nostalgia instead of going for the newest tech that's still trying to sort itself out. Where yeah we took the other direction, and we see a lot of very good feedback on it. Like a lot of players, you know, see some how do you call it, some comparable examples from their childhood, and they're like, hey, this really feels good to see and to play. So we're definitely sort of leveraging that, because those guys, yeah, when they were at the age of 13 or something, they played these types of games as well. So for Bithotel, we're also playable on web, which is something different from most games. Very well optimized for web, and we'll also push to mobile. But yeah, that combined with the pixart graphics really brings a feeling of nostalgia, which we think is powerful.
So when we talk about communities to target, are you more interested in crypto and Web3 focused players or in a wider mainstream audience?
Good question. I think a lot of people are fishing in the same pond, and the pond is not really big enough to sustain most businesses here in the Web3 gaming space. So a lot of people are really advertising on all the crypto YouTube channels and really just trying to get players out of this Web3 audience, which is relatively small, especially if you compare it to just the general gaming audience, which is, I think, over 1 billion players right now. So while the Web3 gaming, the amount of wallets itself that participate in gaming is very very small. I think maybe around 20 million wallets or something, if not even that anymore. So what I'm trying to say with that is, yeah, we saw the challenges with fishing in the same pond as most of the other people, and there's not enough players there. So we decided to focus way broader and build the game in a way that it's first of all free to play, so everybody can create an account and get into the game, which is a big one to not have these barriers of entry where you have to have a wallet to get in, or whether you have to have some tokens or NFTs to get in. So no, you don't need any of that. You can just start playing the game without any Web3 functionality. Then secondly, we abstract away a lot of the features that you would otherwise need some Web3 knowledge about. So wallets, we're allowing players to one-click sign up with like Gmail to create a wallet in a non-custodial way, um, and basically buy tokens with credit card from directly in the game. So it's basically almost the same as any Web2 game, wherein you buy some gems with credit card and don't even see that. Yeah, no, most of those games I'm talking about don't even have crypto in them, but it's basically the same for the player, but it's on chain. So there's the advantages as well. If you want to trade your items outside of the game on secondary marketplaces, you can still do that. But if you don't even bother or care about that, then yeah, you're not really you don't feel that friction of Web3 that's currently present. So that's a big one for us that allows us to tap into that normal gaming segment of people of all ages.
That was a really interesting answer, because I know that a lot of the stuff that you guys just like what you just talked about, especially where you're talking about onboarding people via either SSO or email, and having their keys and their tokens kept in a non-custodial way. That's something that we also developed at Ultra, and I know that there's other people out there that have kind of followed that path of necessity to build that kind of technology, right? Is there other stuff that you guys think that is absolutely necessary to bring mainstream gamers into the fold, from like a tech perspective?
I think the biggest ones are creating a wallet with single sign-on. So that's definitely the biggest. Not having any external apps needed. So you guys have a native wallet as well. We're using a third-party tool that allows for that. As well as we allow, of course, third-party wallets as well. So this single sign-up wallet will actually be implemented soon. But next to that, the on-ramping feature, wherein on many blockchains you need some gas tokens. Ideally, you offer the users a gasless experience, wherein if they sign up for that easy single sign-on wallet, they would get a very small amount of gas tokens from the game studio in order to have them at least transact with things. We, for example, allow users to buy um, NFTs in the game without any sort of fungible tokens as payments. So basically, they own a soft currency. They play and play and play to accumulate the soft currency, and then they can spend it on these NFT items. And those NFT items are on chain, of course, while the soft currency is off chain. And in order to transact, they need a little bit of that gas token, which is a bit of a, I would say a stumbling block for most players. So allowing those people to transact and have these kinds of interactions without any friction by giving them a bit of the gas token really is a big one. And then the final one I would say is a credit card to top up the native token in the game, which is often like the paid version, at least in our game. The if you want to progress to the game quicker, you can buy a bit of that token and get some of the better items sooner.
I think that what you're describing here is actually a set of technologies which works together to provide users, like the benefits of blockchain technology without kind of like the headaches of blockchain technology, right? That's what it really boils down to. And I think that what you guys are producing is really interesting, because it allows users to kind of like log in, right, and play a set of games, and we'll get to that in a second, and interact with their friends. And they do it through kind of like a unified, simple experience, right? It's something which is like pleasant and fun for them. And it doesn't have any of the nonsense that, like, frankly, people have had to deal with the last couple of years in Web3 gaming. And first of all, I wanted to say that I'm a big Bomberman fan, and I was stoked to see that you guys, the first mini game that you put out was based around a very similar play mechanic. Very cool. And I wanted to ask what other games are in the pipeline.
Yeah, good question. So we released another mini game last Thursday. It's a play on the pachinko game, which you might know, maybe not. It's a chance-based game wherein you can pay for a couple balls and they fall, bounce on all kinds of little pillars, and then based on where they end up in the bottom, you get a certain multiplier on your basically the currency that you bought the balls for. So it's a single player game. We pushed it out last Friday. Reception has been really good. The math itself seems to work as well, making yeah making it a sort of a sustainable economy there as well. Um, and there's a handful of other mini games that we're also pushing very soon. One is a minesweeper type of minigame. There's a memory minigame wherein you have to remember certain things that you see in the minigame in order to know where to move your character to. And if you're not in time, then you lose. That's a multiplayer game with up to 12 to 16 players. Um, then there is a sort of dodgeball game with two teams that you can, yeah, basically play dodgeball. We call it dodgeball. um, so that's coming as well, which is really cool. I can send you some of the artwork maybe after the call. You can maybe overlay it if that's an option. But yeah,
That'd be great.
I think those are the most interesting ones at the top of my head.
So when you're building out these game concepts and of course like implementing them afterwards, I'm curious what the biggest challenges are. Because you're integrating like both tokens and NFT rewards as part of the play mechanic. What are the biggest challenges there?
I would say just in general the biggest development challenges with all these different tech stacks, as you said, with chain side, back end, and front end, is having this sort of cumulative base of code base of features and things that need to keep working while you're trying to push new things in. What we found very often is that when you add a new feature on top, something that you thought was unrelated, like sort of breaks all of a sudden, and we have to do enough QA testing to find why and fix that. So there's this sort of uh, two steps forward, one step back issue that we've been encountering quite a bit over the last months, while we're continually releasing features. So I would say that's because of the complexity of the tech stack, definitely an issue. And I do think that with the right setup for pushing code and the deployment pipelines and such, this does not necessarily need to happen. This issue, but it's just really hard to have the right sort of infrastructure in place while pushing out new features at a high tempo.
That's a big challenge. That's something that I've encountered at a bunch of different companies that I've worked with, and I think that especially when we're talking about Web3 technology, what we're actually looking at is this like very layered approach to software development, where you have the front end, the UI, which is an application that the user has to run on their client, which is interacting with a backend, which is also interacting with potentially blockchain services, either Infura or Defuse or anything like that, which is interacting with other things that you have within your infrastructure. And it's a lot. Like we're talking about sometimes 5, 6, 7 layers of development, which all happen simultaneously, and they have, like you said, very uncertain impacts one upon the other.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you explained it well, very well.
So the last thing that I wanted to talk about today was, as you well know, building and maintaining a marketplace per project is no small feat. You guys are building your own marketplace, deploying it, and it's something that you guys have to manage yourself. It takes a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and draws resources away from your primary offering, which is actually your game. Why do you think that it's so common for games and other Web3 projects to roll their own marketplaces instead of integrating into established ones?
Yeah, good question. I think at a certain scale, once you hit a certain scale, it's a no-brainer because you have these sort of small taxes on secondary sales, which is of course for many artists and just NFT creators in general one of the main um, I would say benefits to providing their art on chain instead of doing it in a physical way. So the secondary sales mechanic is just important across the board, especially if you have an economy with many different item classes and different scarcities and stuff. Um, So yeah, we just decided to make one from the beginning, even though we did not have a certain level of skill. We thought if we just do it now and make it work with our current collections, we don't have this sort of uphill battle later. Yeah, it's just a way to capture the secondary royalties, and you can set those yourself because it's your marketplace, as well as to have an integrated way of. I think that this is a good second point, an integrative way for the users to transact between each other without having to leave the platform. It's always bad for business in general if a user has to, have a different website open while playing the game. It's just, yeah, it decreases this retention number that we talked about earlier. Because yeah, of course, if somebody has to leave your website to do something, that's good for the other business, but not for your particular ecosystem. So um, that's also why we think building it yourself is impactful and will help you long term, especially as you scale.
Leon, it sounds to me like you guys have your ducks in a row. I wanted to thank you for your time and for your expertise. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime.